It is a banger. So have you all heard? I mean, it is literally blowing up. It is all over the place. It is on every single news source, mainstream, littler content creators, YouTube, all the social medias. It is everywhere. They finally, and it is a very interesting story why it took so long. But they finally found the serial killer that is over the Gilgo Beach murders. The 4 women that were found on the beach at Long Island.
It was more than 4 women, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's what he's charged with current. Actually, he's only charged with 3 right now because they haven't made a solid enough connection for the 4th one yet. They believe he has many more under his belt, and they actually ended up picking up this guy early. He's been under investigation for quite a while. The FBI and all the other investigative services wanted to make sure they had enough evidence before they picked him up, okay?
Yeah. Make sure it sticks, unlike Brian Kohberger.
Yes. And that is one correlation I wanted to make here with the Brian Kohberger case and this is when I read through, okay, because my first thought always is, okay, they got someone. Like, how bad did they really get someone? You know what I mean? Like, show me what the evidence is.
What do you
is
got?
It enough for me to be bought in on, okay? So, late Thursday, and these were awful killings, you guys. It was like they were bondaged. They had burlap sacks over them, basically like a duck camo type thing over them. They were all done the same way. These women, yeah. It is. These were awful. He's a true, like 1980s style, scary as hell serial killer, repetitive serial killer. He has his way. He has his type. All these women matched a similar build, stature. They were all picked up in the same way. They were all sex workers that were escorts or prostitutes. So all these women were picked up on the same site, even, or sites, a couple different sites by this guy. So let's get into the details, okay? So who is it? Late Thursday night and a rained Friday, so we have more details here. Rex Hewerman, 59 years old, was picked up by police.
He'd been at it for a while.
He has been at it for a while. 13 years too long, in my opinion. Okay, he got picked up, like I said, for the 3 counts initially, but they are connecting him to more. There is a total of 16 bodies in that general area.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, in that general area. But authorities have already confirmed that it is more than one killer. So these are not all his. They are not going to connect all of them. You know, serial murderers have a fingerprint to the way that they do things, and
they have like a ritual.
They do, and it is same or similar almost every time. There has only been one killer in history that has been random for our knowledge, you know, and this guy followed status quo, and he did everything the same over and over and over again. So what let him, he already pleaded not guilty, by the way, on Friday during the arraignment. So what led them to him? So they had all this data already. They had enough to find out who it was for a very long time. And this was a major police failure yet again. And we cover a lot of these stories that the police really mess up investigations on, and I always want to be very clear when I'm talking about it that I'm pro-police. I think police are a very important thing. I think sheriffs are a very important thing. But we got to do better with training. We got to do better with managing crime scenes, okay? I think police have too much on their plate. They shouldn't be managing the streets, managing the public and people, and investigating. We need to split these things up, dude. There should be foot soldier police, the ones that go out there and serve the public directly, face-to-face, talking with people, things like that. Once you get a crime scene, take those guys away. Get them out of there, man, because they are usually the ones that mess these things up, to be fair, okay? Well, initially, what caused them to find these bodies was there was a police officer out on the beach training his dog. He was a canine officer, and he came upon one of the bodies, okay? Called it in. They started searching the area, and this area is there isn't a more perfect area to drop a body. This place is filled with thorns. Not even the dogs could get through the brush.
Jeez.
So they went searching and hunting. It took weeks of time, and they ended up finding all these bodies there, okay? They could tell very clearly, okay, these 4 are identical. The girls look almost identical, okay? And the way that they're tied up, identical. The way that they were ended, identical. Everything was identical. They started looking into it.
So they excavated all these 4 during that time.
Yep, during that time. Yep, but this time was over, like, weeks. But yes, it was all during that original investigation. And they started piecing it together, who was done first and second, third, fourth, whatever. And those aren't even the important parts. So, who is Rex Heuermann? He is a New York resident and I'm drawing a blank right now, his profession.
Architect.
Yes, architect. He's an architect, okay?
I knew that.
And I knew that too because I actually watched one of his interviews, and it is sketchy, dude. So like there's this company out there that goes and like interviews people that have to do with the housing industry and code and things like that, and they interviewed him, and there's a few questions they ask, okay? And one of the questions they asked this guy, and I see him have a really weird body language twice in this interview, and I feel like I can't say for sure, but I feel like he is remembering the past crimes in these questions that he's being asked. I really do. One of them is, if you were one tool, what tool would you be? And you know what he says?
What?
He would be a hammer. Because sometimes he has to be, and he very specifically says, sometimes I have to be very harsh and blunt in whatever I'm working on or whatever thing I'm working on. And sometimes I have to be, softer with that hammer with whatever thing I am working on. And very strange response. I suggest you guys watch this interview and see if you can find the second area of what I'm talking about.
My last question. If you were a tool or an object to help you to bring your business to greater heights, what would it be?
That's an interesting question.
I know.
Because for what I do, we have to have so many tools in the toolbox.
Just one.
Just one.
Just one. Or an object. It doesn't have to be a tool. It can be an object.
You know what? Yeah. I know.
All right.
One of the things I learned from my father was furniture building.
Okay.
He was an aerospace engineer and built satellites. And
runs in the family, building things.
And built furniture at home. And I still build it in the same exact workshop.
So?
I have one tool that's pretty much used in almost every job. And it's actually a cabinet maker's hammer.
Okay, cabinet maker hammer. Okay.
It is persuasive enough when I need to persuade something.
Not someone.
Something. And it always yields excellent results. Yeah. And at the end of the project, whatever piece of furniture or what I'm working on, it always helps it come out beautifully.
Because he asks a question and you see him, I see him start flushing a little bit, and it almost looks like a sense of pride on his face. It was a really weird situation while he's being interviewed for owning his own business, his architecture business, working directly with the city and things like that. So
yeah, that's so eerie.
it is. It really is. Just watching him talk is eerie, honestly. So it was crazy. But what caused this to go for so long? Okay, there were eyewitness accounts at the beginning of this, and they identified a vehicle that Rex owned. And they didn't have the license plate or anything like that, but they had the make and model of the vehicle, okay? A blue SUV vehicle. And but while this is all going on, okay, and they're getting firsthand accounts and everything like that, they start having issues in their city. So like the mayor is they start having issues in their police department, and the police commissioner is being swapped out and new ones brought in. He makes a commitment to figure out what's going on with this, but that commissioner is simultaneously being investigated by the FBI for fraud claims. So what he ends up doing to protect himself is he disconnects the FBI from this investigation and says, you know what, we're just going to figure it out local. And he takes away all this manpower, okay? This leads to this thing going 13 extra years of
After
not being
finding the
solved.
bodies?
After finding the bodies. Yep. Well,
That's crazy.
it is crazy. It's so selfish, dude. It is so selfish that this commissioner was being investigated for fraud, but they say, you know what? I don't care about the public. Who cares? There's a killer out there, a serial killer that has killed at least 4 and will kill again. Like, I just need to make sure the FBI isn't in my backyard. That's what I see when I read it. It's
that
super
is exactly
shady.
what it sounds like.
Yep.
Gross.
Well, a new police commissioner comes in, and this police commissioner means business, and they kickstart everything. They bring in as many agencies as they can. They get the FBI bought back in again. The FBI starts interviewing people. They start making connections, and they find out that Rex owns a vehicle or owned a vehicle that matched this description at this time, okay? They started looking into him, and they got a ton of warrants. I think it was like over 100 different warrants to check phones,
Whoa.
check locations, to tag his phones, to dig into everything that he owned pretty much, okay? Now, here is the evidence, and I want to put, if you guys watch us and our other videos consistently, keep the Idaho 4 in mind when you hear this level of evidence, okay? So this is what you want to see from a killer. And this guy has 4 bodies on him at least right here.
From an
And then-
investigation.
yeah, from an investigation. An Idaho killer has at least 4 bodies on him if it was only 1, not multiple, okay? So what they found to confirm this, and remember, I think I said this in the beginning, they ended up picking him up early because they started seeing his behaviors escalate, meaning he was looking for another victim. And they said, we felt we needed to pick him up right now for the public's safety. Okay? Now, okay, so here's some of the evidence on what he would do. So his entire life, they believe, at least from their investigation, he would get on websites and harass adult workers. Harass, talk trash to them, put them down, say they were worthless, all this stuff, dude. And he was still doing it up until his arrest. This is what he did on his free time, is harass and put down adult workers. And remember, like, his people that he ended were all sex workers, you know. So through his phones, they have confirmation and proof that They identify, okay, so what they did is he had a burner phone, okay, and this guy was really careful. So he got all new things except for his weapon of choice every single time he picked somebody up, and he got a new burner phone every single time. But you know what he forgot to think about is he also had his personal phone. Just because he didn't do any of his serial killer stuff on his personal phone, they were able to identify that every time the burner phone was in a location, it was in the same location as his personal phone. So they connected him through that. Oh. The other evidence, and that's great evidence. Like, that's amazing evidence. The other great piece is every time a girl went missing, his wife was out of town.
Yeah, and the children, right? Didn't he have kids?
Children. Yep. Okay, and here's another one. So on the burner phones, they were able to connect the burner phones with the website that connected these 4 women for promoting themselves as escorts or sex workers or things like that. Mm-hmm. Now, they were also able to connect the burner phone with one of his personal email accounts. Like, he logged into one of them at one time from a burner phone, not probably thinking that nobody would know if I deleted all this and got rid of the burner phone or whatever, right? Well, every place that one of the girls went missing, they were able to connect that burner phone and connect it to being in location of his personal phone. And on a mixture of both of those phones, he was looking up details on this investigation the entire time, nonstop. That's great evidence, too, wanting to stay up on this investigation. When the new police commissioner came in and they brought all the FBI and everybody back, he was tracking it on both phones. They said he had hundreds, if not thousands, of searches. Now, that is crazy. Another really great connection to him is he was looking up illegal porn on his devices. So non-consensual type stuff with underage children, red room type stuff, like really scary, gross, like what the heck type stuff.
Yeah.
This evidence is insane. The amount of evidence they have against him. This is insane to me.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Following the crime, proving that he was within the areas that these women went missing, proving that the burner phone was within the same area and tower as his personal phone, proving he was keeping up on the same type of behaviors that was used to end these women in his porn and personal life, proving that his wife was out of town, giving him a gap to be able to do these things. You know what I mean? Like, this is insane. So
it's a lot.
I'm glad they got him off the street here.
And none of it's DNA?
No, they do have DNA. I just wanted to highlight that specifically first because, yes, they did get DNA. So in one of the sacks or bags that are covering one of the women, they found a hair that didn't match anybody. One single hair, okay? Well, as they were investigating him, he threw away a piece of pizza. They were able to get DNA from that pizza and matched it up with that hair. So there's no way that hair could have gotten into the spot that they found it unless you were the one putting that cover over the woman. So yes, there is also DNA evidence on top of it.
And it's a literal hair.
Yeah. We're not talking touch DNA here. We are talking full-blown DNA.
His hair
There's nothing that
is in the burlap sack with a dead body.
Hair's in the burlap sack and the dead body. And not only that, no one can say, well, they pulled a hair out and put it in there. No, that hair shows the age, how old it is. Mm. There is no, they pulled out a new hair and put it in there to connect it to him. This hair can be proved the age of it. And if you guys don't know, hair is a DNA dream. So, like, if I went drinking tonight, they would be able to see that I drank at that time on my hair. Then they would
it's
able
like a
to
tree. It's like layers.
It is. Then they would be able to see I didn't have any alcohol for a week, and then I went drinking again, and then I went drinking the next day, then no alcohol for a week. Then I went, like, they can see all that for as long as your hair is there.
Yep.
They can see other chemicals that you've taken, like prescription meds. They can see everything. When we say slam dunk case, this is slam dunk.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
A connection. He doesn't have an alibi. They proved he was in the location these women went missing. They proved that the tools that were used to harm these women were in the same area as him and his personal cell phone. Like,
there's reliable DNA evidence.
Motive by having a hatred towards sex workers, a type of woman that aligns on what he's watching, the videos he's watching that correlate with the women that were found, like everything.
Proven history of consuming illegal stuff that is up this kind of alley.
Yeah.
Harassing sex workers, which were his victims. Now, what about the toddler and the man that were found?
So I haven't heard anything on that yet. I also didn't go looking for that yet. I don't know. But you got to remember, like, a serial killer covers their tracks. So when I hear that, the first thing I think is like, ooh, this guy must have gotten away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he has a very specific type of person that he wanted to end. It was a female. It was a certain stature and look and type, and a man doesn't match it.
Since it's
a man with a child.
Since it's 4 females, it almost makes me wonder, is there one of the females that were dumped at the same time as the man and the toddler? Like it was a family?
Yeah. I hear you. I just don't know. But it wasn't a family because they were all sex workers. They were all picked up by ordering them.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He was ordering services.
Right.
So, and they have proof that, 2 of them went to go meet a him, and were never seen again. So, Yep. So I don't think he picked up a family. Could he have? Yes, he could have, but they're focusing heavily on the 4. I think the 4 is a 100% for sure slam dunk. We got you. You're never getting out type situation. So is there more? I would say yes. I don't think that you can kill in this nature and go all these years without doing anything.
Honestly,
I just don't see
I
that.
think that's what makes being a prostitute the most scary, is the social implications of it, of that you have people out there who genuinely hate you.
Yes.
Even if they're not a serial killer, there's people out there that genuinely hate you for what you're doing.
There's people out there that hate people for their race. There's people out there that hate people because they're trans. There's people out there that hate people because they're a mother. Like, there's people out there that just hate, period.
Yeah, but the social implications for a sex worker are across all culture, across all nationalities.
It's not. It's only the U.S.
It is not only the U.S.
It, for the most part, is. Most countries are very open and okay with it.
But you're thinking about places like Germany and Amsterdam. Those are
I'm
not
also
the
thinking
majority.
about places like Indonesia, Australia, India. A lot of these
prostitution
places
is not legal in Australia.
No, but it's not frowned upon in the way that it is here. We are the only country in the entire world that looks so poorly on the adult industry, the human body, and sex.
Are you forgetting about all the Muslim countries?
No, I'm not, because they also are more understanding of that. A lot of the Muslim countries allow men to hook up with other men even. It is not the same. There's a reason why the U.S. for over a decade had the highest teen pregnancy rates, had some of the highest self-abortion rates in the world, because we are freaks when it comes to our own sexual selves and anything to do with that.
Okay, but there's countries in Africa that have reestablished punishable by death for gay. There's
I understand
that
that.
is
I'm
a law
talking
in
about the
Saudi
adult
Arabia.
industry. I'm talking about the adult industry. So, when I say India, they just have a thriving adult industry. There's multiple documentaries you can watch on it, and I think yes, the U.S. is the worst.
Okay, but that
I feel
doesn't
comfortable saying
prostitute-
we look at
but
the adult industry as the worst.
Even if they allow a thriving adult industry, those people are not looked at like good people.
I'm saying that we look at them worse. The U.S. is disgusting when it comes to the adult industry.
Yeah, I'm not denying that, but
You were just making the argument that there are other countries out there that could be worse, and
No.
I don't believe that.
no, I'm not saying that could be worse. I'm saying that it's a worldwide problem, not just
I'm not
the
comfortable
US.
saying it's a worldwide problem. Maybe half the world. But like,
That's
you have the Finnish
worldwide.
countries. It's not worldwide. It's half the world. Worldwide is saying the majority of the world. And I'm not going to put these countries down that have worked very hard socially and are very accepting of these things and very comfortable with sexuality and bodies and raise their teens the right way to understand the importance of sex and having sex safe. Like, I'm not willing to group them into that. They are going out of their way to do things the right way and the healthy way. I'm just not willing to say the whole world has a problem in this.
I didn't say it was worldwide. I was only making the point that it's something that transcends culture. It's something that I think may have more. It's the purity thing. It's like
It's a
the
US problem.
It's like the old thoughts before the female sexual revolution. Like, these are deeply ingrained, traditional, old school ideas that transcend culture and time. Like, they are still a problem in many places in the world. Okay, it's not everywhere, obviously, but I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it's a problem. That's why being a sex worker is scary, because you have to worry about, obviously, people that hate you and killers like this, but also not being looked at as like a normal class citizen just because you were a sex worker.
Yeah.
You're looked at
we
as
can
less
just only
than.
talk about the U.S., okay? Because the U.S. is where we need change in these areas. I'm not concerned with the other countries who are governed by different systems and setups. Do I want the whole world to look at this differently? Absolutely.
I
But the
didn't-
only place that we can initiate change in is the country that we're a part of the government.
Agree with you,
Yeah.
and you brought up the world. I didn't. I was just saying it transcends culture.
Okay. Yep. I
Like,
got
'cause you
you.
brought up racism and hate in all the other areas, and I'm just saying, like, the hate for sex workers, and I did mean
There's just
America
a lot of cultures
initially,
out there
but it,
that are accepting, like Asian cultures.
you brought up cultures that are accepting in different parts of the world, but I mean in America, it transcends black, white. Here, it is something that transcends all of that. Sex workers are lower class citizens. They are not like highly regarded in any way.
Yeah, and I think that needs to
That's
change
scary.
because I also just don't. Yes, this could be a dangerous industry, but for people who do it right, it's not. There are girls out there that do it very safe where, they have a secondary person as a check-in for the call and get enough information to know where they're going to be, and then they check in when they get there. I think all of these women were self-managed and posting on sites like, a Craigslist, some of the pickup sites and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's super scary when
I
you
don't-
don't have like safety checks in place, and even then you're gonna have men that are like weird and scary.
Oh, sure. They're coming to a sex worker for a reason because they don't feel comfortable enough going out to a bar and getting what they need. So, Yeah, I think that sex workers are highly regarded, in my opinion. I think that it's looked at as more like therapy because I don't look at sex as being some weird thing. But I'm just going back to what we were saying here. I'm just glad they were able to find this guy. I wish it didn't take 13 years. I think that is a major fail on the police department's
It's probably because they're prostitutes.
No, I don't think so. It was all that internal stuff that I was explaining.
But they don't care. Yeah, I'm sure that is it. But I'm sure also the fact they're prostitutes didn't help.
Maybe. I'm not sure. That's not talked about in here.
Okay, but if you think about if they were like really important people, there's no way it would take a backseat.
I mean, maybe. There's a lot of crimes out there. There's a ton of crimes out there. It's just too easy to make a blanket statement like that. Yeah, but
sex worker, serial killers, every single one I've ever read about was overlooked for way too long because it wasn't that important.
Yeah,
nobody missed them.
This was in like 2010, though. So this wasn't the 80s, this wasn't the 70s, or even the 90s in some of the stuff we cover. This was 2010. And I don't feel like police work is handled like that anymore. The police have a ton of issues, but they don't, a lot of times they don't care what the victim is because they're held to standards of metrics for close rates now. So the way that we hold our police accountable is very different. So like investigators have to have a certain close rate, things like that.
I get it, but when you have societal views like drug addicts, like for instance the George Floyd thing, everybody wanted to come out after a while and be like, well, he was a drug addict and he did this and that, when it doesn't matter what he was. If he was murdered, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
If this person was murdered, it doesn't matter what they were. If they were a drug addict, a prostitute. And we handled that right,
though. It doesn't matter what society says. We handled that situation right.
Yeah,
those guys were taken off. So I just don't feel like it's fair to say that.
No, but I think those have an impact.
And saying stuff like that can take focus away from the real mess up here. They had a police commissioner that was selfish and afraid of the FBI looking into them, so they screwed this entire thing up by taking away the biggest manpower that they had in this situation. I don't think it had anything to do with sex workers. I don't think that had any play in it whatsoever. It was because they had a police commissioner that was just selfish and scared.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think I covered everything with that. We got sidetracked, so I don't remember where I left off. But, as I was saying in the beginning, that this guy pleaded not guilty. And there's too much evidence here for him not to be guilty. This is a slam dunk case, and they were even going to go a little bit longer to get more evidence on top of him. So it's just open and shut. You know what I mean? Maybe they wouldn't even have to take it to court. He would just plead into life without parole. I don't know, but good on you guys, the police force and task force that had a hand in this most recent time with the new police commissioner. I'm glad you guys were able to connect those dots and do the job and get this guy caught. It was 13 years too late, and you guys were able to bring it in. That's pretty amazing, I think.
It is. Anytime a cold case or something like this gets figured out, it's great.
It's
wonderful because he was still active.
He was still active, and the longer a case goes without any movement, the harder it is to get movement again.
Yep.
And they were able to do that. And I think that's incredible.
That's a feat.
It is. So, hats off to you, police, that were part of this task force.
I'm just shocked a police commissioner could get the FBI off of a case like that. Usually the feds
FBI's
come in.
Federal.
Usually the feds come in though, and they're the boss. Like they just take over. The police don't get an opinion. They don't get a say.
I think that's a TV way of looking at things.
Well, there's obviously some kind of politics and management that goes into it, but I don't know what that is exactly.
The states do have a say. They just value the relationship with other departments. So I think if either side pushed hard enough, that the other would give in. You know what I mean? I think, yes, the feds are looked at like the big dog with a nasty bite. So a lot of times local police will kind of let them go, especially if they are eager to close something, because the FBI has tools that state police just don't have, dude. You're talking a difference of funding of like 100 times what local police would have. You know what I mean? So the tools available are just, even with the Idaho 4 case, they went to the FBI to try and make these DNA connections, you know?
Yeah. And that's why when a kid goes missing, they contact the FBI. Like, they need those resources that are nationwide. Absolutely.
So yeah, hats off also to that new police commissioner. What was the name here? So I can give them a shout out. I know Geraldine Hart at the Suffolk County Police Department. So they are the key person that brought the FBI back in.
Is that beach like around New York City?
Mm-hmm.
It is? I never heard of that beach before.
Yep. Long Island.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's it.
But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I want to know how you guys feel about it. Do you, in comparison to the Idaho 4, like, how do you feel about this being a slam dunk case versus Idaho 4? Like, I hear cases like this, and it makes me laugh at the fact that we're being told the Idaho 4 case is a slam dunk case. We don't have placement of Kohberger. We don't have anything related to this. Like, they were able to connect the cell phones and placement in a way that it was incredible.
It's just funny because the evidence in this case is actually kind of similar related evidence in the Idaho 4 case, but it's like way weaker evidence. Like, it's like it wants to be that evidence, but it's just not.
It's not, because it's not there.
Like, they have the DNA, they have the cell phone pings, and what was the other one that you mentioned? The photographs of the car.
Yep.
That's super similar, but it's just really shitty evidence compared to this.
Well, they don't have it. They went looking into this guy the way that they did for Kohberger, and they found stuff. Like, do I need to say? If Kohberger was doing these things, they would have found this.
In Kohberger's case, it seems like they're trying to stretch what they did find to fit the narrative, and they shouldn't have to make that big of a stretch.
Kohberger wasn't looking these things up on any of his personal accounts. He doesn't have any DNA. He didn't have any weapons that could be a part of this. There's literally nothing. All we have is that, hey, Kohberger was within 10 miles or more of this residence. And that's insane.
The DNA is sus, but the fact that it's touch DNA and there's a percentage of error there and it's considered almost like a pseudoscience and isn't considered reliable, like, when you put all those things into account and the fact of how touch DNA can be spread, it just, because I feel like that's the one everyone's gonna go to, is the cell phone towers, and the DNA are the most important thing.
I mean, it's not, though, because the DNA is not even included in the case.
Yeah, somebody said it was absolutely gonna be included.
It's not included in the case.
Yeah,
it is not.
It
literally says in the legal document, do not include this in the case.
In court.
Yep.
Yeah, in the trial.
So I want to know how you guys feel about it, though. And, where was the flaw here? Was it the police? Was it, who was it? But
you made that assertion. Very clearly.
So, yeah, but I still want to know what people think about it. Open-ended questions are what push a channel forward. It creates open conversation. So if I'm just answering my own questions, then what do we have you here for? But yeah. So that is it for tonight.
Yep.
This is Thought Riot, your favorite crime, culture, and current events show out.
I say just crime and culture. Current events sounds too like high school history class.
I mean, these are current events, so.
True.
But yeah, make sure you guys, if you're still watching now, make sure you get on our streamlabs.com/ThoughtRiotPodcast. You join the Discord, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Spotify. I think that's everything.
I don't know, but our link tree got like hacked. So
I don't think our link tree's on anything.
not anymore because it got hacked.
Yeah, I took that off quite a while ago, I think.
We should
But
probably
yeah.
make a new one though.
Come join us, find us on our live streams, and come talk to us for a while. Bam.
Yeah, if you want to hear more or dive deeper into the Koberger case especially or anything else, come chat with us on live stream.
Yep. And we will see you there.
Be there, be square.
We are out.
Goodbye.